Today we're gonna see 10 fantasy book recommendations that are incredible and that are on Kindle Unlimited. And in this list we're gonna see a little bit of a blend between young adult fantasy and fantasy romance, and it's gonna be ranked based on how much I love those books. And we will start with our duology, which is called The Sounds of Arabia, with the first book called We Hand the Flame. This is a young adult fantasy story. It currently has a 3.94 stars and it has been rated by a little bit more than 64,000 users on Goodreads. A quest at its core, it's very adventurous, it's surprisingly emotional, it has a little bit of an enemies to lovers, but for me the thing that stole the show for this book, it's actually kind of like the ambience, because it is set kind of like in Arabia. It's really different for all the things that I've read, and I really thought that the ambience was really compelling. I'd say it's a fairly good blend between a character and a plot-driven story, although at times I thought that the pace was slightly slower, you know, like it dragged a little bit at the beginning. We'll have a quest and chasing of artifacts at our core, but you know, like the main characters will have a tiny little bit of magic, and We Hunt the Flame will tell the story of a girl that it's always been very good finding stuff, and she lives in this world where magic does not exist anymore. Something happened that it's preventing this land for, you know, like flourishing, and our girl will find herself in the situation in which she will need to start this quest of finding this artifact that it's supposed to bring the magic back into the lands. But she will be, you know, chased down because the Sultan also wants this artifact, and you know, the story will unfold from there. In the number 9 we have a fantasy romance series that I've talked multiple times on this channel, so we'll go slightly fast with these, but it's the Zodiac Academy. Currently has a 3.97 stars and it has been rated by a little bit more than 67,000 users. And this saga is a very dark, sexy, bullying story, right? It talks about power, but what really compelled me to read this series beyond the slow burn and, you know, like the pain are mainly two things. The first one, it's a multi-point of view story, so we will see not just a point of view of our main girls, but also of these different people that surrounds them. So I thought that was really interesting to understand this kind of like power fighting situation. And then second, the magic in here, I thought it was really kind of like inclusive, let's say. We have elemental magic, so fire, air, water and earth, but we will also have these different species, different races, kind of like the vampires, we have the werewolf, so it's really kind of like a paranormal story. It has a lot of stuff there, so I thought that that was kind of like a very, not really complex world, but really rich one. And the story talks about these two sisters, these twins that are in the human world, and then one day they kind of like are retrieved by this sexy professor because it seems that they are kind of like the lost heirs of the Fae throne, and so they are kind of like taken back to the Fae world and they are delivered into this school called the Zodiac Academy, where they were supposed to, you know, like tame their powers, discover their species because they don't know it, and you know, upon arriving they will discover that people don't really want these heirs to come back because this fairyland, it's already kind of like very threatened from external dangers, and they mainly want the power to remain in houses that they are. Then we have Spiderlight by Adrian Tchaikovsky. This is a fantasy standalone written by the same author as Children of Time. It currently has a 4.11 stars with a little bit more than 2,000 reviews, so it's a little bit of a hidden gem. I really thought it was really similar to Kings of the Wild, but I liked Spiderlight a little bit more. Keywords wise, it's a quest. It's set in this medieval world. It's almost kind of like a Dungeons and Dragons kind of story. It's very fast and very adventurous, and Spiderlight will start with our characters knowing that this great evil, it's kind of like taking the land, and they are in charge of, you know, like fulfilling the prophecy and taking down this evil. But in order to do so, they will need to do, you know, like these different quests, and you know, like along the way they will be fighting with different monsters, and really the dynamics between the characters was hilarious. I did not like at the beginning the idea of having one of the characters being a spider, but this spider very early on turns into kind of like a human almost, so solved. Then we got to see that it's very popular. It won the Goodreads Choice Award of 2018, so not necessarily kind of like a new book. It's a young adult story and it's Children of Blood and Bone. It currently has 4.10 stars, which is very good, and it has been rated by a little bit more than 200,000 users. Very popular. It is really adventurous but also emotional, and at times it is slightly dark, and I thought that it was a really good blend between a character and a plot-driven story. And we will follow our main girl, who is part of the Orishas. So these were the people that previously had magic in this land, but then one day the king decides to kill these different mages, and our main character will lose everything, and she will start a little bit of a path of revenge, but also bringing back the magic into the land. In the number 6, we have a young adult standalone that it's extremely action-packed, really fast, but surprisingly emotional, which is The Legend of Black Jack. This is truly a hidden gem. It has currently a 4.42 stars, so very good, but it has been rated by a little bit more than 100 people. If you like a good portal fantasy story, to have a chosen one, a coming of age, you like pirates, you like dragons, this Jumanji feeling, and The Legend of Black Jack will tell the story of our main guy, Jack. It's a prodigy, so he's very smart. He has been really groomed by his dad, and they together have created this world of adventures, but then something terrible happens, and we will then move forward to kind of like 10 years in the future. And then one day, this rhino comes from another world and comes seeking Jack. It seems that Jack is the only one in this world that is able to heal people. And in this parallel world, there's this evil Jack that's going to play a very important role in order to stop it. In the number 5, we have another fantasy romance book, but this one it's really spicy, also very good. A King So Cold. It's part of a duology. It's a really new adult. First paragraph, spicy. Expectations set. It currently has a 3.88 stars, and it has been rated by a little bit more than 6,000 users. Keywords wise, it's very dark and it's very emotional. This book talks about our girl who is a queen, but this queen has been betrayed by her husband, because it seems that at the moment of the wedding, the husband tried to kill her. And the story will kick off with her kind of like taking back this husband, throwing him into the dungeons, and kind of like retelling this story of what has happened, because he does not remember anything. So we will be having flashbacks at the same time as we will be understanding the current situation, because this fairyland it's about to be at war. And we go now to top 4, and honestly this is so good. We will have An Enchantment of Ravens, a young adult standalone that currently has 3.65 stars, and it has been rated by 72,000 users. It's really cozy, it's really adventurous, and you know, it's really kind of like emotional and overall wholesome and light-hearted. And An Enchantment of Ravens will follow the story of our girl that lives in this fairy world. Well, the fae are kind of like these creatures that don't do anything, right? Like they rely on humans, and our girl it's specialized in doing portraits. She is fantastic doing her job, and one day she is tasked with doing this portrait, and what she finds afterwards will change her life completely. She will be a little bit kind of like on the flee. And in the top 3 we have Sorcery of Thorns, also by Margaret Rogerson. In fact, Vespertine by the same author is also on Kindle Unlimited, but I haven't read it yet, so cannot really recommend. But Sorcery of Thorns, fantastic. It has the 4.08 and it has been rated by 92,000 users, so it's a fairly known book. It is very adventurous, like till the point in which I was almost tired, because it's really fast-paced, but it's also very plot-driven, although the characters were very interesting. So a good blend between character and plot-driven. Every 50 pages a lot of stuff had happened, and this story will follow our girl who has grown up all of her life in a library. Her dream is to become like one taking care of the books and the grimoires, because it seems that the books can turn evil and they, you know, can manifest and they can do magic by themselves. And one day something terrible happens in the library, and she's accused of this very grave thing that has happened, and so she will need to go into the city and she will need to defend herself and, you know, find what is happening, because it seems that more stuff happens in all the libraries and she will need to unfold this mystery. The characters though are incredible. I really liked this magician called Nathaniel. It's going to be a soft magic system, this book, and I also like Silas, which is this cat demon. And then we go to the top 2. Are you excited? I am excited. And in this position we will have Vicious by B.E. Schwab, part of a Finnish duology called Villains. That really, it's something different, but I really enjoyed it. It's a new fantasy and it's really dark, but you know, like, the characters are so great that they have something that grabs me. Not that I saw myself in these characters, but there was something that I really wanted to keep reading. It currently has a 4.23 stars and it has been rated by more than 170,000 users. And Vicious will tell this dual perspective story of 2 friends that one day become their worst enemies. These 2 friends, when they were back at university, they were starting to analyze and research if playing with near-to-death experiences could grant people powers. And so that's the setting. That's where the story unfolds. And in my top 1, we'll finish with this standalone that is one of my favorites and I cannot believe it's there. And really, please read it because it's incredible, and it's The Sword of Kaigen. Currently has a 4.46 stars, which, of course, thing is, it's a little bit of a hidden gem. It has been rated by a little bit more than 10,000 users. Really emotional. It's very character driven, but at the same time it really had a plot that was fantastic. And I've mentioned this before, but the action scenes were out of this world. The magic system, it's based on elemental magic, especially we will see a little bit of ice, a little bit of air, and a little bit of fire. And the story will unfold in this medieval Japanese setting. And Sword of Kaigen will follow different points of view, and I reckon these different points of view are slightly different to what we're used to in fantasy, because we will mainly follow a mother and a son. In this land, they're kind of like the last resource against a war, kind of like they're the resistance. They have been taming and training their abilities, their eyes, and we will follow this family called the Matsudas. And you know, like, really the story unfolds from there. You need to be mindful that this story is slightly slow, but then it really picks up, it really breaks your heart, makes things amazing with you, and honestly, this is an unforgettable book. And that was it for today. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one. And if you liked these recommendations, especially the hidden gems, I will link down below in the description a video with 9 books especially recommended for you then.